There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because where is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. 'Cause he's a man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamarae. He put his life on the line for us all. And for the truth, the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. How about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Think not that we are earthborn, we come from earth, we may be, but we are life-born spirit, and without knowing we can never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher. Bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher. Bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. 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 Freedom for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They ain't finished. They tried slander, defamation of character. They tried to rob brothers up, harass sisters on the street, stop every car coming down to make sure they did everything they could. And not one person come out and help us. Why? Because they had us marked as a cult. Oh, there's some crazy suicide cult. There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because where is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, 'cause he's the man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamare. He put his life on the line for us all, and for the truth the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking, it won't be long to make our dreams come true, for a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. Said, how about you? For the master, master teacher, freedom for the master. 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 Freedom. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Freedom. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Freedom. Master teacher. Think not that we are earthborn, we come from earth, we may be, but we are life on spirit, and without knowing we can never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher, freedom for the master. Freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master. Freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master. Freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master. Bring it, master teacher, bring it, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Bring it, master teacher, bring it, freedom for the master. Master teacher, 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 freedom for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They ain't finished. They tried slander, defamation of character. They tried to lock brothers up, harass sisters on the street, stop every car coming down to make sure they did everything they could, and not one person come out and help us. Why? Because they had us marked as a cult. Oh, there's some crazy suicide cult.
Bring home now, bring home now. It's freedom, master teacher, freedom, master teacher. Bring home now, bring home now. It's freedom, master teacher, freedom, master teacher.
There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because where is our
He's
opposition?
been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, freedom for the master. Master teacher, 'cause he's the man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamare. He put his life on the line for us all, and for the truth the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. Said, how about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Think not that we are earthborn, we come from earth, we may be, but we are life on spirit, and without knowing we can never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher, bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher, bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. 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 Freedom for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They ain't finished. They tried slander, defamation of character. They tried to lock brothers up, harass sisters on the street, stop every car coming down and make sure they did everything they could. And not one person come out and help us. Why? Because they had us marked as a cult. Oh, there's some crazy suicide cult. There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because where is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. 'Cause he's the man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamare. He put his life on the line for us all, and for the truth the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. How about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master, freedom, master teacher. on spirit, and without knowing we can never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher, freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher, freedom for the master, bring it master teacher, bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. For the master, bring it master teacher, bring it freedom for the master, master teacher, 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 freedom for the master. Teacher, freedom for the master, master teacher, freedom for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They finished. They tried.
Hey, Rahubat Muesa. Greetings, family. How you all doing? We're live again, episode 66. We have to turn that around, make it 99. All right, welcome everyone, as usual, to OSM, Our Souls Matter, the live stream every week. And I'm glad to have you on board. See who's on. Remember to share, you have to share. Don't just get all the good stuff to yourself. Share, each one reach one, at least one, and then we can each one teach one. Saketra, much appreciate love for your donation. Free Malachi Zedio Parnababyanun. You know, that's something that we should be saying every day to put that frequency out there, but it's not just words and lip service. We've got to get involved and also put the action in motion. So if it's through your meditation, your visualization, your contributions to the legal, your efforts in spreading Wu-Sabat, your efforts in going to the stores and helping, just, you know, do something, be active, right? We don't want to wait and be reactive. We want to be active and we want to be in control and not react. That's when you're not in control. All right. So I'm just saying that for, what Saketra is saying. Yeah, it's all about, I see all the thumbs up. It's all about freeing the master teacher, bringing him home, because without him, honestly, none of us know what we're doing. All right. Appreciate love to everyone for the support. Every little thing you do does help and count, you know, because this is a great works. This is a big works that we have to do, and to reach billions of people on the planet, it's not a small task. So even though you might think something as simple as commenting on the videos, sharing how Wu-Sabat has impacted your life, that's something that is very helpful, you know, because the master likes to hear the feedback on how, you know, he's reaching the world and how it's, you know, having an impact on everyone's lives. And there may be one of you out there that's going to come up with that question that none of us have thought of, that is going to help him realize or know how we're growing mentally and intellectually, to be able to give us more affirmation, you see. So never think that your question is too silly or too complex to ask, because none of us know everything. So when we say ask us anything, we do our best as his students. You know, we're all just students of the master teacher, and we are a student more than we're a teacher. So even though we say we're student teachers, it's because we will sit in the seat of a student more than we do as teachers. And when we say teachers, we're not really the teachers. We're teaching, but we're really sharing what we have been taught by the master teacher. Of course, we have our own personalities and our own way of delivering it, which will relate to our life experiences, So, yeah, like once you've read one book, one scroll from the master teacher, you can start sharing that. You can share what you learn. And so, yeah, we want to give, as I said, our love to everyone that supports us with the little donations here and there. Even with our event, we've got an event coming up, as you know, for Friendship Day, which is used to counteract the pagan holidays, such as the Valentine's Day, which is on the 14th of February. We've already done a video on that. So if you haven't watched that, go and watch that, comment, and then you will see why it's imperative that we have a counteraction to that energy. Yeah, because a lot of people don't know the history of Valentine's and why they celebrate it, even though you think, it's about love, and which it should be, but there are different types of love. And most of the love that is being pushed on that day is the I love you because you do something for me, or because you're going to buy me a bunch of roses or a bunch of flowers or a bunch of chocolates. And unfortunately, many relationships actually break up during that time because of the pressures of the distortions of what has now been considered to be love, when it's really based on lust, based on, the ego, based on I, based on a pagan ritual that goes back. I'm not going to give you all the details. Go and watch the Valentine's video. And yeah, so you can help us. The online streaming is available worldwide. And the special class we're going to do on the day, it's normally at the regular time we would normally have the class, but this is a special class that's going to be done after the main event. And so that will not be available as usual to everyone. It's only going to be available to those who have bought an online streaming ticket, which you can find from the Eventbrite once you hit the link for the meet and greet Friendship Day event. And you bringing somebody to that event may be the first time you expose them to Wu-Sabat, and they're going to meet people in real life. You're going to meet myself and the other student teachers and the rest of the other family, and you're going to basically be able to engage. We're going to have exclusive products that are not available at the moment. Certain scrolls that have been, sold out for a while are going to be available. So, you're going to have also the cultural health, healthy products, the attire. There's so many things that are going to be available, plus entertainment, 3-course meal, live music by Nuwapians, as well as other entertainers, that are going to really entertain you for the night. We're going to have comedians. So yeah, we look forward to meeting those people that, you've been along with us on the journey for a while, but we may never have met you, So this is an opportunity for you to come and meet and greet us, celebrate our family Friendship Day. And it's an opportunity to meet new people. Yeah, so just want to say thank you. We say Tawakum. Thank you all for all your support in sharing the videos, liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, commenting. We really, really do from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah, want to say Ashuk, which is divine love. All right, so you know the rules. If you want to call up, you can ring the number and ask your question live. You can leave a voicemail if you're having connection problems, and we'll play it live and answer your questions. You can use the chat to ask your questions as well. I see you got a flag up. We've got someone here.
Voice note.
Okay, let's go for the voice note. All right, fasten your seatbelts. We're about to take off.
Greetings. The question I'm about to ask is this. Is it true that there is sun, under the caverns? And if it's true, how do I know this?
Okay, yeah.
Another question goes like this, my great Samalu.
Should we do one at a time? Yeah, because I might forget the first one. Yeah, because I don't know how many questions he's got. Yeah, the first question is, he's asking, is it true that there is a sun in the center of the earth in the subterranean world known as Shambhala, right? And it's funny, that's the first scroll I've got at the top of my pile of scrolls here. This scroll, the answer is true, yes, there is a sun, and the master explained it very, very well. And it's referred to as the black sun. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to catch that from over there, but there's a diagram here in the scroll, in the middle, yeah, of the diagram that is showing you an artist illustration of the black sun, which is in the center of the earth. Now, the question is, what is a sun? Because remember that when you think about a sun, ironically, very recently, I think Japan created a sun. And you have to remember that the sun that we are familiar with, that is 93 and sometimes 91 million miles away, created 93 billion years ago, that's a ball of hydrogen and helium that is burning and converting, constantly burning and converting. And so if you know the science of doing that, you can create a sun. And as I said recently, you can research and Google things we say. Now, these scrolls by the master teacher Parna Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who is the reformer, the warner, the guide, the most intelligent being on the planet right now. And since he started the mission of opening the seventh seal from 1970 AD, he has poured out to the world all the information since the 60s, from 1962, 63, all the way to 1970, where he officially went public. He has answered all these questions and has broken down all the information you're hearing people talk about today or more recently. So nothing you're hearing is new to us. So he has broken down about Shambhala, and I'm going to read a little bit because it's a lot of information. And there are movies that have been made, like Voyage to the Center of the Earth, right? That's a movie you can watch. And there are many books and novels. If you just even Google like the Hollow Earth, you're going to see a diagram that comes up that talks about many people who have actually been there, like Admiral Byrd. But let me read this. So question, well, what and where is Shambhala and Agartha? Answer, what and where is Shambhala and Agartha? You ask. Shambhala is the capital of the biggest subterranean world, right? And it's this palace of illumination within the earth has a central sun, which is 600 miles in diameter. The inner city is called Agartha, meaning through the hole. The temple within this subterranean world is called the Golden Palace, or in Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic, Wahala, meaning place of illumination.
This on the web.
Sorry, that's Siri just finding stuff for me that I didn't ask her to find. But let me turn her down. But again, you could use Siri and all these tools now to look for information. Right, so it means the place of illumination, or with the golden aura, which is located in the capital called Shambhala, meaning scented by Allah. Shambhala is a combination of the words Shama, meaning sent, and Allah, which gives you the most beautiful sense of Allah. One of the most outstanding characteristics of Shambhala is that those beings who visit or live in Shambhala bodies carry unique sweet scents. It is a scent of the presence of Allah. Shambhala itself is the holy place where the earthly world links with the higher states of consciousness. The city Shambhala is also known as Ishara. There are also crafts that come from the center of the earth. As a matter of fact, many crafts seen by people on the surface comes from various caverns beneath the planet Earth. Shambhala is a galactical United Nations as opposed to an Earth United Nations. Shambhala has the largest library and medical library on this side of the galaxy. Shambhala has climate control. There are no volcanoes and no earthquakes. Environment control implies that there is disease control. There are no years, no months, and no days, being that the sun is in the center of the inner world and the planet is not moving around anything like how our planet rotates around our sun. There's no war and no speciesism, which is short for racism. Okay, there's even a picture in here showing you the Shambhala, the capital of the subterranean world. And the master also gives you the entrances. It says the inner earth can be reached. This is the second part of your question in terms of you saying, how do you know it's there? And there is also another way. I don't know if you know about the auroras, where the aurora borealis, when they basically you see these what they call southern lights that shine, and people wonder why. It's because you have an inner sun and an outer sun. In order to stop the planet from overheating, right, there are times where the angle of the planet releases these lights. But anyway, the entrances are reached by the north poles, the poles. So you have, you got at the center of the inner earth is a central sun, but you've got the north and the south poles. And this is what people always ask, right? The master answers that question here. It says, how could the earth that is solid have an inner world? Because some people believe that the planet Earth is solid. So the answer is this. That is the point. Your planet is not a solid rock. There are three major divisions in Earth. 1, the inner core. 2, the outer core. And 3, the crust, which is a very thin layer. It is called a mantle. So just because the Earth's surface is 197,474 million square miles, and the weight is 6 trillion tons, doesn't make it a solid. If your planet was a solid rock, then its weight would be much more. There isn't anything on this planet that is a solid, right? That's a fact. Because when you start to probe and look in deeper and deeper and break down things in terms of going into the quantum realm, you start to see that things are not solid. They're made of atoms and they're vibrations of energy, okay? So why should the earth be if the norm is that everything is not solid? It gives the illusion of being solid, but it's held together by, like I said, the atoms are held together by energy forces that when you start to go into the science of creation, the master teacher has already broken down when you go to the nucleus and the center of what is really holding everything together. All right, so let's go on. Beneath your very feet is a region whose radius is 6,294 kilometers. The Earth's radius is 3,693 miles from the pyramid in Egypt today. Right, here we go to answer your question. This is another question. Have people ever explored the inner world? Answer, yes. However, the existence of the inner world has been denied to so much people and has been denied so much until people assume that it is fiction. However, it is a fact that the inner world does exist and it does have inhabitants. Many people have reached the inner world as far back as in the 1950s. Whether it was by accident or intentional, people have given different accounts of how they got there and their experiences while they were there. One of the most popular stories is a man named Richard Shaver. In the article entitled UFOs, the Shaver Mystery and the Hollow Earth by Gene Steinberg, author Richard Shaver speaks of a journey that he took to the center of the earth and the ancient people that he says he encountered. Shaver claimed that the earth is honeycombed with caverns and that these caverns extend incredible distances into the earth and that they're still inhabited with descendants of a race of people who left the earth about 12,000 years ago. All right. I'm going to just read that part and I'm going to stop because there is a lot of information. Shaver claimed that he could hear voices and see visual projections of people who existed beneath the surface of the planet Earth. He was told that when the Earth was young, the Earth was visited by a race of beings who came from another solar system. He called this race the elders, the elder gods, who with their advances in science and knowledge of DNA and RNA manipulation were able to live to be hundreds of years old. They also discovered the secret of life and death. For the elders know that death is the elders know that death is an illness in humans that can be cured or prolonged, right? These elders, right, before I go on, a lot of this now, obviously, the master has expounded on. Remember, this book came out in the 90s. And so, you know, when he's talking about, humans dying is a disease, it's because now you know about telomeres and you know how you can actually prolong your life or shorten it by the programming of the telomeres, right? So it goes on. These elder gods were the Shuyuk or the Riskians from the planet Risk in the 19th galaxy Ilion, right? Obviously, that's where the master teacher comes from, or Yanun comes from. Early humans that existed on Earth at that time considered them as gods. These highly intelligent beings built a large computer called Mech, right? From where they get the word Macintosh. Its original name was Wu-Sabat. With these machines, they could scan the surface, pick up scenes from all over the planet, or televise them. They could project both thought and three-dimensional images, kill and destroy at will by simply flickering switches, extract thoughts from another person's mind or implant thoughts into it, right? They were able to stimulate any emotion, cure various diseases, alter the weather, and create natural calamities. They also had mech, which could be used to make clothing, food, and other articles. They could also kill and cause destruction just by the flip of switches. The disagreeable ones among them also built a large computer. It was called HAL, and their Earth counterparts made an offshoot of the HAL called IBM. And if you look at the words I, B, and M, the letters that come after, that come after HAL, which is the name of this computer, will be IBM. So H will be after H is I, after A will be B, and after L is going to be M. All right, so over a period of time, the inner sun started throwing off radioactive particles which polluted the air breathed into the lungs and accumulated in food and water, causing a shortening of their lifespan by increasing the aging process and causing other effects. The shuyuk, trying to escape, bored underground, hollowing out artificially or modifying already existing natural caverns. Right? So now when you start to look at things like the Epstein files and the whole Diddy case, and you see all these massive underground tunnels, and people are whistleblowing and telling you that the elite or the people in the entertainment industry, travel underneath. And again, these are things the master taught us many years ago when you go and read the scroll called The Man from Planet Risk, where he was telling us things that people thought were ridiculous, like how there are tunnels that connect, say, New York to London. And there are movies called like the Kingsman movie. They show you this. In Japan, they have these trains, right? The trains that are using this high technology now where they literally they're not on the rails. It's like using magnetism, right? So these things now are something that you can literally find today, but this is ancient technology. So the natural continuing, hollowing out artificially or modifying already existing natural caverns. With a device similar to a laser beam, they proceeded to build large cities with tunnels connecting them 4 to 20 miles beneath the surface. Many relocated to another planet and took some of their mech or hasaba with them. Okay? There was another point that just came to me as I was reading that I wanted to share. Anyway, so about they're using those same devices to build like the Channel Tunnel from France to the UK. But yeah, I'm gonna stop there. But to answer your question, it is very true that the inner world has a sun and many different beings. Again, this is one more picture I'm going to show you. This is again from the same scroll, Shambhala and Agartha, Cities Within the Earth, which is scroll number 131 from the Master Teacher. And you can see, like I said, you can Google Hollow Earth and see all these pictures. There's a lot of evidence now. So, yeah. All right. Let's move on to the second part of your question.
Another question goes like this, my great Samalu. Since the women, as we know, came first, why is it that men exercise ownership over them? One example, by paying bride price.
Okay, so the question is, if women came first, why do men exercise or exert control over them? It's because of suppression. The women have been suppressed for many, many years. Firstly, up until recent times, because the transition is happening where the women are getting back to their rightful position of remembering, because Partner Babyanun has been putting out information, such as who is God, male or female? Okay, that's an actual fact. And he was the one that came and said, look, the greatest secret ever told, right, or kept, or they tried to keep it, was to basically teach you that man came first, to suppress the fact that the women are the goddesses, that every person on the planet, be it male or female, comes from a woman. That's why when you start to read the religious books, which are what? Spoken about men. We can go from Adam to Abraham to Moses to Jesus to Muhammad, name them, Yahweh, they're all men. To the planet, in terms of the control structures of most, hierarchies, CEO at the tops, presidents, prime ministers, bishops, imams, the list just goes on and on and on and on, where they've been in a position of power and have suppressed the woman. Even, the whole thing about the Trinity, they give they give more credit to the men than the woman. So the Trinity in Christianity, of course, is like God the Father, that's a man. God the Son is a man. And then they somehow evade or skip the woman and talk about the Holy Ghost, right? And then claim and say this is three persons in one, which mathematically doesn't even make sense. Because if you ask the question, well, who are the people? Because you say three persons in one. The first one is a person being God the Father, right? It's a male person. The second one being God the Son. Two, that's another person. But then you go to a ghost. A ghost is not a person, right? Because a ghost is non-physical. So how can you call the ghost a person? So there are two people and then a ghost, and they skip out the woman, because if you ask the question, as simple as it may sound, did the Father have a navel, and did Jesus have a navel? Because these are men or male children. And the reason you do have a navel is because you're connected to a mother when you're being grown in her stomach. So she's really the God, because without her, the goddess, without her, there will be no men or women for that matter. So to go back to your original question, religion has given you this fictitious story that God was there, or Allah, or Yahweh, or whatever name you're giving to this male that apparently took dust off the ground and created a man, and then took the rib from the man known as Adam, and then created a woman. But this is incorrect scientifically. And if God is the higher intelligence, he would know this, because you have to look at what makes the gender of a male and what makes the gender of a female. Then you start to look at chromosomes, and the woman has an XX and the man has an XY. Yeah, so the Y is actually a defective X. One of the stems has just been removed. So the genetic material to create a man is less than that of a woman. So she's a full spectrum being. Her matrix is complete, you see, and you can start to see like she has things that a man doesn't have, or a man has and doesn't use. Then when we start to look at the words that describe gender on the planet, like female, you see male is inside the female. You say woman, the man is inside the word woman. You say lady, the word lad is inside the word lady. So scientifically, it shows that the woman is first. Even when you look at, like I said, just using the words that describe gender, the woman is first. And then it brings us to a point where when you start to say things like, you know, the New Testament, and you say, well, the New Testament is new. And in the New Testament, they try to give you a new story, right? A new statement that they're making, and saying things like the Immaculate Conception, the virgin birth, meaning that a woman has a child without the intervention of a man, which is ludicrous, because you need that Y chromosome to make the male. So yes, going back to your question, the woman was suppressed by mainly religion and other methods to keep the secret of her being the goddess. And, you know, the ego of men and the men controlling everything has meant that even women themselves have forgotten their divinity. And now we're in the right day and time where they're regaining that. All right, we got a caller, live caller. What's your name? Rahul Bat, where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Rahul Bat, Dre calling from the States, South Carolina. I had a question because now we're in Black History Month here in the States. And my question was on enslavement here in the States. I just wanted to know, I was doing some research. I just wanted to know, is it true that the enslavement story that we were brought up here in the States and told was a lie? It was told to us backwards, that originally the true people that were slaves were the Caucasians. That's where the word slave come from, Slavic, and those were the original like Neanderthals that were in the Caucasus Mountain caves. And then
Correct.
the Negro and Moors came and got them out of the caves and cleaned them up and brought them to the Americas first on the boats.
Yes, you're
Is that
correct.
true?
It's absolutely true, yes. Because even in their scriptures or the so-called holy scriptures, it was said that when the curse was being put on Canaan or Canaan, it literally said that you shall be a servant. Yeah, the word servant is a distortion, as you say, where they start to try to take it away from a slave and make into a servant, right? So even as you say, the Nation of Islam and Islam picks this up and try to hide the word abd. Okay, the word abd with ABD ends up being the word Abdullah, right? And this is a name that you're taught in Islam that every Muslim that takes their Shahada it becomes Abdullah, right? Abdullah from Abd, the word means slave. And so it's literally saying you're a slave of Allah when you're saying Abdullah, right? But they distort it and start to make it into a servant. And then, people are like, why are you a servant? And if you start to look at our family, the brothers from the Nation of Islam, because the foundation of Islam actually also comes from, or the foundation of the nation comes from, the whole Arab world. So if you look at how they dressed like, with the suits and the bow ties. It's like when somebody is working in a hotel or something, the people that the valet that they park the cars and all that. It's like a bellboy. It's like basically you're a servant. And this is one of the things when we try to say, look, we are not slaves, but like you say, the original, the slave word is from Slavic, like you say, because yes, that was not, we've never been slaves. Even when they bring it to the whole notion of a slave trade, right? I remember I did a video with one of the elders and we were talking about this, and I kept trying to explain to him like the whole slavery story has been exaggerated and magnified and distorting the fact that not everyone in America was brought there by a ship or a slave, trafficking and calling it, the ships were named Jesus as well, which later on that was the spell that got, casted on a lot of people by way of religion. There were people indigenous to the Americas that lived there before anything to do with slavery, because you have the Olmecs that were already there, the Pataites that already walked there. They literally crossed over and remember that they were able to just walk across before the continental drift and before, the space between got so big. Then they started to vacate and go there, and you had people like Mansa Musa that they knew the currents and they knew how to travel in boats, and they were very advanced. And this ties into the Muslims, that the original proper Muslims that came over, and this is where you get the word America from, because they were referred to as the Emirs. And then the Incas, who were the children of the Olmecs that were already there, right? So you take the two words, the Emirs and the Incas, you put that together, you get Emirs Inca, which becomes America. And they used to travel across, and they used to look at this as a vacation. And the word that was used for that was Utla, right? That Utla became Atla. And then the Greeks add the tis to the end of that word, and it became Atlantis, you see? So yes, it's very true. And you're not only black during the month, you're not black for a start. And this whole Black History Month, it's actually telling you his story of blacks, right? Not your own true story or our story that they refer to as or I would say my story if I was talking about myself, they refer to that as a mystery. And then they say it's prehistory, right? They don't teach you about prehistory because they say it's prehistoric, prehistory. So you have to go back and read up about the things that took place before the so-called slave trade, the things that relate to this whole thing about you being a slave. This is why the Bible was also used to reinforce that. When people like Christopher Columbus, you hear the word Christopher, you hear the word Christ, because that's how they get because he was a Christian, right? So they came over there and they discovered people there, and then they're like, oh, we've discovered America, which is a silly story when there are already people there. So yes, that's why we have to go back and study and learn about our true story, because by the time you get to like what they're calling, truthfully, should be the natives of America, known as the Native Americans, that got distorted into American Indians, because they started to look at them as Indians. Because remember, these Incas, they also tie into Sheng of the Sheng dynasty, because these Orientals that sailed across, once the currents were established by the family, because remember Mansa Musa and Abu Bukhari, right? They are brothers, and when they settled in South America, they call him, I can never pronounce his name probably, Quetzalcoatl. That's the name that they refer to, like Enki and some of these beings that came there. And by the time you get to what they're calling American Indians, that's the mixture between these Chinese, the children of the Olmecs, that became the Incas, and then you had the Chinese mixing in, and then now you look at what they call Native Americans, is different from the original tribes like the Washita, and dealing with, again, the Washita is where they get the word Washington from, for the capital city. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of information, and we encourage people to study and do really serious research to the pre-Columbus, the pre-continental drift. And when you do, you will find out that when the landmass was together, the ancient ones, our ancestors that settled in the location where they refer to as the Egg Island now, is how people then started to go in different directions. But yeah, in essence, you're right.
Okay. Last question I had. I know we had discussions about the time period between 2030 and 2043, and all their systems is following. By that time frame, let's say like 2030 between 2043, would majority of those fugaloids, Adamites, Canaanites, and Neanderthals, would they be pretty much all wiped out by then?
Yes, by 2030, yes. The Adamites will, because this is where it ties into the telomeres that we said they were only given a specific period of time, and that expired in the year 2000 AD. So from that point going downwards, yeah, they're going to be basically become extinct. However, in terms of when we say Adamites, we're talking about a specific species, but a lot of what we call Amorites, Canaanites, Archites, Arvites, the 11 sons of Canaan, a lot of those have mixed in and have the DNA and the blood of Nagaru. So most people don't even recognize or know who they are. So when the majority of people who consider themselves, to use the term white, are not white, because when you define what makes somebody white or who they are, you have to look at their DNA and the way it was defined during the times when these Nordics were, being grafted. There used to be so many Nordics, like blonde hair, blue eyes. I'm talking about originals. You don't really hardly see any original blonde hair, blue eye beings anymore. That shows you how they've been basically reducing in population to the point where if you have any, like the way it was defined before, if you had one drop of what they considered black blood in you, then you were no longer, you know, an Aryan supreme race as how Hitler was trying to graft. So now you got people that have DNA of Nagaru. They have the features and they have the traits. They have like dark hair, dark pupils. They have spots of melanin. So it's not as simple to just look at someone and say, you know, you're an Adamite. So I'm saying that to go back to your question to say that if we, the people that are waking up in terms of consciousness, do not unite and come together and get rid of all these diseases like racism and all the tricks they try to use to keep humanity divided and fighting each other. If we don't rise above that and unite, then we can risk the beings that are programmed by Six Ether forces, by the Luciferians, to still be in control. So, you know, it's not as simple as once the Adamites are gone, then that's it. We have to be ready and organized as, you know, those people. There really are only two positions you can be in now, right? I mean, you could say there's a third one. You're either with what we call agreeable, as in Michael and his angels, or you're with what we call the devil. But even that whole thing about the devil, people don't know because that's been distorted. Who are we calling the devil? Because the devil has children and, you know, they call him many names, Lucifer, etc., etc. But, you know, you're either on that side or you're someone that's completely still unawake and undecided and just like don't know. So we all have to reach these gray area people. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. You got to decide who do you serve. You can't serve two masters. And so Wu-Sabat reaches people, and all the religions and all the people that are working and their minions for who people are calling Lucifer, the devil, the shaitan, etc. They also try to capture souls. That's why they always tell you they're trying to always get you to go and be like born again into their world. But I don't want to digress too much. But yeah, so that's what's going on right now. But yeah, by 2030, the Adamites are no longer going to be here. Your line's a little bit noisy, but is that it?
Yeah, well, last thing. When you said that they mixed in so they could extend their life. Is that true?
Absolutely, yeah.
So the ones that's mixed in, those would be what? The Neanderthals?
Okay, so the easiest way to classify everyone is based on, you know, the current classifications of the anthropologists, which, you know, we said, when we said Homo naledi, that's dealing with the African male, and then you have the habilis dealing with the females, and then, like you say, the Denisovan and Homo florensis is dealing with the Asian. So that's like whether you're Korean, Japanese, Chinese, all of those fall under that Denisovan and Homo florensis. Then you have, like you say, the Neanderthal and the Cro-Magnon being the Caucasian. But then, like I said, when you say Caucasians, a lot of people, and we tend to just classify everyone under one umbrella. But each one of these three root races that I've just described have what we call sub-races. Yeah, so that's the mixture. And this is how they're able to survive, by mixing in to get the Nagaru's blood and the Nagaru's DNA. But it doesn't always work. So they would obviously try to go to the closest, which would be the Dravidians or the, you know what I mean, like, well, I just said the Denisovan and the Homo florensis. So yeah, there are many ways they try to survive, but this time round, the DNA markers that have been programmed Because when you look at the double helix or look at that DNA strand of, DNA and RNA, they're programmable, okay? So when you have the ACGT, those are the codes of how the genetic markers are programmed to yield certain results. And some of the formula is not known. They cannot unprogram this because it's been done by high intelligent beings. So yeah, the programming has been that they will start to, it become extinct. But the ones who have the correct genes and by way of the mixtures, they will make the shift. We've already had a shift, the dimensional shift, which happened in 2012. But this is a build up to 2030. And these genetic markers are what are responsible to basically eliminate those who, are not going to be here by that time. Tua?
Okay.
All right.
Toa, thank you.
Appreciate love your call. Keep calling in. All right. Let's see what other calls or questions we have in the chat. Many more people have joined. Rahubat, Gavin, Beaton, Rahubat, Ubura.
Voice note.
Well, voice note? Yeah, let's go for it. Keith.
The main important issue I have is the charges he has against him. And I've seen a video on it, but if you could just direct me to the video that clarifies that the girl who's done the interview against the master teacher, who said he did do what they said he did. And there's a video of a child who's 12 years old who's got a scan showing that she's pregnant, who was part of the community in the pyramid. If you could just go over that issue.
Tua.
Which is a problem because I know other people are going to bring it up to me if I introduce them to Wu-Sabat. So that's what my main concern is, the charges against him. If you could just go over that and clarify the 12-year-old child, the documentary, the scan that they've got of the child pregnant, and who it was really that did it, if it's not him, and the person who said it was him, the video documentary that was done.
Tua, yeah, that's a great question. The first thing you have to realize is that the whole setup was by design. And this has been something that was done and programmed for many years to look out for, as they refer to him, when I say they, I'm talking about COINTELPRO and certain organizations that were designed specifically to stop the rising of what they refer to as the Black Messiah. Okay, so this is going back to all the leaders that have come about, whether you're looking at Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, name it. Like, this is not something new. It's the same formula, even the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when you start to look at who is responsible for doing these things, like, it kind of sometimes it's surprising when people look at the media and look at the sensationalism and look at all these people that are putting out the documentaries and people that are talking. I've watched so many documentaries of people that are talking like they actually know or have the facts. And I'm listening to them and I'm like, I can literally pick out all the incorrect information. That's because you have to do your own research. It's so easy for anyone to claim anything. But just because somebody claims something doesn't mean that it's true. So you have to study the case. But it's an ongoing case. So sometimes not all the information is like if you got an ace under your sleeve, right, and you're facing your opponent, you're not going to speak about certain things in public. So we do have, or the master teacher does have, a legal team. Like people that have studied the case intensively and have been working on it for a very long time. You can visit the website freedryork.com. There are many groups on Telegram and on social media that debunk the case. When somebody says, "Oh, there's a young girl that's pregnant," it's so easy because all you have to do is do DNA tests and do that. You get shows that people come to try and figure out who's the father of the child. And they do DNA tests. I mean, Jerry Springer, all these old shows have done this, right? So that's such an easy thing to prove. People say they've seen videos. Videos are edited and, you know, like if you really study a video and you have to look at what video we're talking about, some of these conspirators, they basically were paid, or they thought they didn't actually get anything because they were promised a small price, yeah, to betray him. We can look at the story of Jesus and everybody else. Like there's always someone, the Judas or somebody that betrays the person, right? For some silver or some pittance of money or promises as they were given to become famous, and they were going to get like movie deals and book deals, and but the devil has no loyalty. You know, it will turn on you, and they never got any of that. So it depends on which documentary and who we're talking about. If you're talking about people like Habiba Washington, who has recanted, and you can't recant. It's like in court, yeah, if you tell a lie, you're no longer credible. So you can't say, this happened to me, then change your mind on the oath and say, you know what, the guilt has overtaken me and now I want to tell the truth and say it didn't happen to me, right? Get affidavits and everything. And then the next time you go back and say, actually, it did happen to me. The minute you start to do that, you're not credible, right? But when you start to really study the case, like you're saying, there was one of the footages that everybody talks about is like, oh, he took the plea bargain, right? If you study plea bargains and see how they coerce people to take plea bargains, that's just like a get out clause for a lot of these. And when you actually, a lot of these cases, and when you actually start to study why, it's a monetary system based on them making money for you to take a plea bargain, right? Just study. There are movies that have been made about plea bargains. I was watching, there's a Netflix series quite recently called 61 Street. Go and watch that, right? There are others. What's that one with the 4 boys that were accused of raping or something in Central Park? I can't remember their name, but there are many, right? I'm just saying, study plea bargains and study how many cases when they see us. Yeah. So, I mean, the case, remember, this is a 20-something year case. So the amount of information is not a one question. You have to, if you say you are really serious about knowing the truth, you have to study the case. You can't go by hearsay or sensationalism of the media and the same people that are against you that set it all up. Because when you go into it, you start to see how, you know, these people that they went to the FBI or the GBI, which is the Georgia federal, you know, the equivalent to the FBI, yeah, Federal Bureau of Investigation. So you can literally pick out the case. It doesn't make any sense. Like there was no DNA evidence. They say they were monitoring him and had surveillance for years, but yet there's no video footage. And if you were sure and say that this person was doing this and you were videoing them and trying to gather evidence for years, how would you let something like that to continue just so that you can have evidence? And then when it comes down to it, you don't have any evidence. The video is doctored because you weren't allowed to film the case. So it was a closed court. So how did the video get filmed inside the court? And if you have a film, right, there should be more than one. So why is it only one point of view? Because if something happens on the street today, everybody takes out their smartphones and cameras and they start to film, right? So even what happened the other day with what's going on in America right now with like ICE, you know, they would just come up with a narrative to say, oh, the person was doing this, but then you have people that took out their cameras and filmed from different angles and can show the evidence, and you will see for yourself that's not true. The days of where they could just doctor a tape and then just say this is it. I'm saying that to say, if you're being fair, then there should be more than one person filming the event. You can't just have one film, and when you study it carefully, his mouth is not moving, he's shaking his head and it's doctored and there are glitches. Like, if you watch The Matrix, for people who have watched the movie The Matrix, you know the bit where the cat goes by and someone says, oh, I just had deja vu. And the star of the film, Nero, the one, he's like, say that again? You just had deja vu, you saw a cat. And it's like, that's not normal. So when you look at the footage, watch it carefully. No one has ever seen Dr. York in his entire life look the way he did on that footage that they're claiming about the plea bargain. And that's because he was coerced, he was put through so much. But whether you accept it or believe it or not, doesn't really matter now, because there's so much evidence to go against the fact that he was railroaded, you know. There's just so much I can go into, but I don't want to take up the whole of the live just dealing with that. If you really want to go into details, there are people that have been working on the case for a very long time. It doesn't take much to like break it down and decipher that it was a complete setup. And we can go into the people, the conspirators that actually did it, how they got together, made up a story, you know, went to Florida, went to, you know what I mean, to the beach and coerced people to, like, when you tell a lie, the lie changes all the time. When you tell the truth is consistent, it matches up. But when you have to say something and then someone else says something else, and then you try to agree and then, you know, call each other and try and match up your stories, when you're in court and then you start being pulled apart, it falls to pieces, because there are too many inconsistencies and there's so much information on the case. Go to freedryork.com and join on the Telegram group as well. There's a Free Dr. York, you know, group with people that, you know, have been studying and working on the case for a very long time that will answer your questions all day. Come to our classes, come and yeah, but it's intentional. It's done to put people off, but it hasn't worked. After 20 something years, all the facts, all the truth, the real people that were involved, the conspirators, are being exposed. And even then, he's still saying, if you go on our website, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com. In fact, there's a picture on there I'm going to show you, because this is so important, and it's the last thing I'm going to say before we move on to the next question, where he's actually saying to people, all right, I'm just going to read it. It's a little paragraph, and I'll show you the picture. I don't know if my brother can pull it up for you guys online, but yeah, this picture here, can you see that? Yeah. So yeah, go on that site, and it says, I came out of the East, 1945 AD, Africa, Ghana, onto the Western world, a son of physical parents. I was raised up amongst them to know them. I came forth in 1970 AD, right? This is when I said he broke the seventh seal, because it was a prophecy that he will come to give them what they believed until 30 years. They could learn to want what I really came to teach them by 2000 AD. Yet they refused me. Some betrayed me. That's the point I wanted to make. Some betrayed me and offered me into the hands of the evil ones for a small price they did not receive. Yet I forgive you all before I depart. All right. And that's to show you that even still, he's forgiven the people that have betrayed him. And if you really want to study and know more about, there's a book called The Revelation to the Sabian. Let me see if I can. I'm not going to go into it today, but this one here, yeah, get hold of this, and it goes into so much detail. But yeah, we could do classes and classes for a month on just the case. But I hope that's helped you, and don't be deterred by anyone. Check things out for yourself. Don't go by hearsay, and you will find the truth. Ask, seek, and knock, and the doors shall be opened. Go ahead.
Rahubat second.
Ramba.
Kita huti again reye. from Zambia. So I just had a quick question regarding the scroll, the 24 elders, the first part, which is part 1. So just reading from verse 15 and 16. So verse 15 says, all 24 elders are equal in all ways, no head or leader except the supreme being Yanun. All appointed can also be replaced for the exact same reason as above, can be voted out by wu-nuwapu tribe of Yamasee Creek, Nuwabian Nation congregation members except Panabab Yanun, the center. So I'm just trying to understand this verse. Are there 2 sets of 24 elders? Because maybe from my understanding from the other scroll I read, where it was talking about there will be 24 elders which will be appointed among the tribes, which will lead into a new cycle. So is there a galactical council of 24 elders and also 24 elders who will be based here?
Tour, absolutely. That I'm trying to, yeah. So in the 24 elders, all right, here we go. There's the holy tablets. I'm going to try and show you. So simple answer is yes, there are 2 separate 24 elders. So in our culture, in the structure, we have elders that are over the communities who are people that have been walking with the master for a long time and have earned their position and are chosen, as it says, as it's explained in that scroll, the 24 elders. The 24 elders master secret, originally there was part 1 and then there was part 2, and then now they've been amalgamated into 2 parts. So you got both parts 1 and 2 together. And those beings are chosen, 12 males and 12 females, to be like over the tribe, in sense of different communities around the world will have a 24 elder that if there's any disputes or any issues within the tribe, it's kind of like having our own system of how we deal with disputes and conflicts and things like that within the community. So these 12 people, or 24, are chosen, 12 females and 12 men. You know, as he explained to you, that it's by, Partner Babjan. I will read a little bit of it, but I'm trying to show you as in regard to the other 24 elders that you're talking about, that the Bible and the religious books pick up and say there are beings around the throne of, they will say, God or Yahweh or whatever terms they use. Those 24 elders are separate, all right? So you have the galactical 24 elders, and then you have the ones that are here physically, because a lot of what has been set up on the planet, the original way of life, our way of life, was modeled on our elders who come from, as we mentioned before, like Risk, and they had a system already that that work, and that system is replicated on the planet. So those ones, here you go. So in the holy tablets, if you go to I'll go from page 942. Okay, so I'll show them. So you got, I'll just show you some pages and I'll go through their names. You got those, so these are the 24 elders, that other ones that you're talking about. And I can keep going, just go through them all, right? Okay. So you can see some of them are different races as in relation to our people on the planet right now. There you see 19th elder, you see who? Yanun, okay? Because so he's one of those 24 elders. Yanun, the 19th of the 20 and 4 elders. Then you got Yafafia, the 21st of the 20 and 24 elders. Then you got Sandalphon, the 23rd of the 20 Sandalphon, who another name. Okay, so let me just go back and name the others. You got Mahai, the 17th of the 24 elders. You got Raziel, the 15th of the 24 elders. You got Ruduariel, the 14th of the 24 and 4 elders. You got Cadisin, the 13th of the 24 elders. You got Raguel, the 12th of the 24 elders. You got Metatron, right? A lot of people know him, the 11th of the 20 and 4 elders. You got Uhuel, and again, remember the language, depending on the language you're using, they will be known by different names. You got Galgaliel, the 17th. You got Barujiel, right? Again, this is who they call Jasper, it's spelled as with a G, but Jasper, who was one of the 3 wise men from Persia. Excuse me. Then you got Azabugel, the 3rd of the 24 and 4 elders, who is also known as Melkoi, one of the 3 wise men from the city of Midian. So remember, it was him, Jasper, and can't remember the other one. Then you got Anaphiel, the 2nd of the 20 and 4 elders. Then you got Akatriel, the 1st of the 20 and 4 elders. So those are the 24 elders that has been spoken about and then ends up being distorted in the Bible. And then you got the 24 elders in this day and time by selected and chosen to govern our communities. So here it says, Le'antkum, for you all, this is Pa Nabab Yanun, known also over time as Atumreye, and I am speaking to the selected elders who round about my throne as the center. So remember, one of his names is El-Kupt, okay, and 24 in all of the hours in the day and shadow hours. So it kind of also ties into what we call the 24-hour clock. So it's like each elder is responsible for that hour of cycle. So there are 12 females, yeah, a Yashat males, and so you got a Sha'at females and 12 Yashat males as our timekeepers for the next 24,000 years. 24 beings with the one supreme being, right? So each who have reached the physical earth age, so you have to be of 54 up until the loss of reason, right? So to qualify, you have, in our culture, to be an elder, you have to be at least 54 years old. And remember, there can be 24 elders in different communities around the world. And when those communities come together as one massive one, they will be 24 over that, okay? So yeah, I'm not gonna read the whole of it, but yeah, your question, was, are there 2 separate 24 elders? Yes, but as usual, they begin with the first set of 24 elders over the first community, and then that's replicated all around. Just like in any culture, there will be a justice system, or, well, justice in this world is just us, which is an unfair system. It's not based on being completely like impartial. But yeah, so let's move on. We've got so many questions to get through as usual, but that was the answer to that. We got another caller? All right, go for it.
Hi guys, Rahubat. My name is Obaka Fedo. I'm from Nigeria. I have one question for you, and I hope to get an answer. I've been trying to get to you guys for some time now. I used to be Christian, but I I left the faith because I didn't believe in it anymore because of the flat earth theory, which changed my whole narrative about a lot of things, made me research more and ask more questions. And I didn't get those questions from the church, which led me to leaving the religion. And I found you guys, and you guys have all the questions to most of the answers I've been looking for, except the flat earth theory. Can you please say anything about the flat earth if it's true? I don't know if the earth is flat or round at this time, and I just need to correct and have my belief straight. Is the earth flat, and do we have a firmament?
Tua, yeah, greetings and welcome. Caller from Nigeria. Yes, we've actually been asked this question many, many times. And the first word, and because language is so important, sometimes we get carried away into trying to be in a statement or something that somebody has said without first dissecting and breaking down the words. When you say something is a theory, that already tells you it's not a fact. It's like, you know, the Big Bang Theory. This is when people are trying to figure out something and they don't know, so they come up with theories to say it could be this or it could be that, right? So, and the word theory goes back to the word theos, which is the Greek word that relates to something that they don't know or how to explain, so they will call it a theory. So when you say theos, again, atheist, the word atheist relates, it's coming from that root word. So I'm saying all this to say that when they say you're an atheist or someone says they're an atheist, they're basically saying that they do not believe that there's a God. Very strange. Some funny what do you call it, normal activity just going on here. But yeah, you're saying that you do not believe in a God or you don't believe in anything, right? But the very word actually it means God, from the word theos and theories, as I just said. So when someone says something, it's like, because they don't have the knowledge or the information, it's distorted in what they're saying. So first of all, the word theory means you don't know. And when you say flat and you use the term, the earth is flat, you have to then decipher what part of this place you're calling earth. And the part they're referring to as earth is the part we walk on, right? Even when you just walk down the road, it is not flat, because you have places that are higher than others. You have hills and gullies, you have mountains, in the seas, you know, it goes down and it comes up. Some of the mountains are coming out of the sea. So you have to use and discern. When you say something is flat, right? I've said this many times. This is flat, you know. This surface is flat. So either, this is just the basics before we go into why it's not. If you define words and you say this is flat, it means the surface is flat. And you're calling that earth. The earth is not flat. Just on that basic simple logic, yeah? There is more actual water. This planet is a water planet. So there's more water than this earth. So why we call it the planet Earth doesn't make sense, because it's more, what determines the name of it? But yeah, to answer the question, when you have intelligent beings, like when you look at the cosmos, like you can get a telescope and go outside. You know, you get really powerful ones, you can get simple basic ones, but you can look into the sky and see stars, right? And you know the stars are not within or like within the same atmosphere, because if you've ever been on a plane, you fly from one time zone to the next and you see yourself, like you can go from getting on a plane in daylight And as you fly across to, say, America, where there's a different time, you know, like we're like 5 hours ahead of, say, New York or Atlanta or whatever, right? I've done it many times. You can literally be in a plane and fly across daylight to night or night, what they call night. We know it's a shadow. It's a shadow state because the planet, in order for it to not explode and overheat, it's cooled. That the system, the way it was designed by our elders, right? This whole solar system is a design because this is where the whole concept of God comes from, because it's intelligent beings that place planets in a specific position and have grown this planet to a specific size, have weight and a mass, and they orbit to rotate in a way that they do not crash or clash into each other. And this is order, right? The sun, which people think sets and rises, is designed to sustain life on this planet, and there is order in the universe. And not just our solar system, but I'm saying when you start to look into the cosmos. And there are many extraterrestrial beings and beings that have come from other places to this planet and have made themselves known and have shared intelligence and information, about where they come from in great detail. One of those beings is our master teacher, as the being known as Yanun, right? The incarnation of Tahuti and the many titles that he holds. He has explained and given us in great detail the planet Risk, where he comes from, and the technology that is required to be able to travel intergalactically, you know, at speeds that are faster than the speed of light. When you go into the scientific world, I'm talking about people that really study and trying to find the origins of the universe. They've got super telescopes like the James Webb telescope. Before that, they were using the Hubble telescope. There are people that work in this field. You can listen to channels that literally spend all day trying to decipher and break down the birth of the universe. And they tell you that the cosmos, even like the amount of imagery and pictures that they can take now looking back into space, it's phenomenal, the amount of information. Like, so for you to just say the earth is flat, like, are you looking from an aerial view? How are you coming with these theories? You know, there are satellites that, if you study how satellites work, even now, you've got people like Elon Musk with the whole, what's his network, that the satellite, Neuralink, right? I mean, like, just do some research and study. Did I say Neuralink? Neuralink, Starlink, thank you. Yeah, you guys have to check me, because I can make mistakes. Starlink, yeah? And the whole ecosystem that he has going on. Why is he building robots? And why has he got Starlink? And why has he got cars, electric cars? All right, we have a caller that's interrupting me. Rahubat caller, greetings. How are you? Where are you calling from? What's your name? And what's your question for today?
My name is Kerith Muir from Jamaica.
Rahubat, Kerith.
Yes, Rahubat.
Rahubat.
Okay, so my question is, well, I have two questions. Would you call the Japanese and Chinese 7 ether or 8 ether beings? And also, if they say that the human body has 7 chakras, what is the difference between the 7 chakras and ether?
Okay. Yeah, so yes, I would say that, but they fall under what we call then solvent and Homo florensis. And yes, you have 7 and 8 that falls within them. You got But the thing, when we talk
7 and
about
8 what?
ether, when we talk about ethers, we can talk about ethers in the general sense in terms of like from one, or we say zero, but we go from 1 to 9, yeah? And you have like ethers in everything. And when we're dealing with that, because when you look at traits of people on the planet, it's based on the ethers as well, like certain traits. Like you have 9 ether, which is woolly hair, right, which describes the Nagaru or the Negroid race. So that is dealing with our hair, because we're the only ones that actually have hair, and it grows and curls in the 9 into the follicle. From the follicles, it's in the 9. This is where you get the woolly hair, or people will say afro, or we call it a crown. You know, if you go back and listen to the songs like Gary Bird, he was saying we wear the crown, yeah. And that was a very unique trait. When you go back and look at like the 60s, 70s, and look at most of the bands like the OJs and the Jackson 5, and you look, we all had this unique hair, and it describes our 9 ether hair. Everyone else has 6 ether, or as we said, like 7 and 8 ether. And that then ties into everything when you're dealing with like the melanin, you're dealing with the neuromelanin, and yeah, basically the most beings with the most melanin or melanated beings are going to be the Negroids. So yes, you're right. But when you're dealing with hair texture, it's slightly different to when you're dealing with, when we're talking about the other components of you as a being. So we are the only ones that have the extra 2, which is going to the 8 and 9 when you're dealing with the chakras, as you just mentioned, because the Orientals, who most people, when they start to learn and go into like esoteric teachings, when most people have been given Christianity and Islam and the basic monotheistic religions, when they come out of that and they start to delve more into like spirituality and things like meditation and learning about, you know, like I said, the esoteric teachings, they normally look to the east and go towards the Asians, and so they will learn about like Hinduism, and they start to learn about, like you said, the chakras, but they only go up to 7. You look at all the books, look at the diagrams. If you Google right now, they show you 7. But we as 9 ether beings, we have 2 extra that are above us, but they still attached to us electromagnetically. So we have the extra 8 and 9. The Caucasian male is 5 ether. The Caucasian female is 6 ether. Then you got, as you said, the Dravidian, and as we call it, the Dravadu, and the Asians, they go up to 7 and 8 ether. And then depending on
So
your
would you
mixture,
say that, wait, can you tell me this? So are you saying that ether is actually chakra as well? It's just 2 extra chakras?
yeah, because it's energy. When you start to go into all of this and break things down, right? Nothing is solid. Everything is energy, but there's different forms of energy at different densities. In fact, in our book, I'm trying to find a page for you, the Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, we put all of this information in there in terms of the ethers. We break. This is a very good reference and handy book to carry with you, because it gives you all this information we're talking about in a nugget, and then has a list of scrolls from the master teacher that go into great detail and breaking things down even further than, you know what I'm saying, not anyone on the planet can. So I'm just trying to get to that page where it will give you that. But when you're saying ethers, there are ethers in everything, going from, if you want to break it down, going from, we say density, right? Then you have different variations of density to what we then start to call matter, all right? Because you got matter and you got antimatter. So when you go into the antimatter, you're going to the other side, it it goes into the higher levels of ether, but then you come down from matter to the matter then forms, come into the physical side, the atoms, yeah, and then those atoms form cells, and those cells form organs, right, or organisms, and then those organisms, right, form what you call, you know, physical bodies or body parts. So when you're going to the other side, to the etheric realms, you start to go down 9 levels of ether. So each vibration in terms of your physical composition is linked to the other compositions that are vibrating on the other side of what we call the physical realm. So you have to know that everything in the physical is actually connected and tied into the things on the other side of ether. And this is where, when scientists are now trying to figure out what holds everything together, right, in terms of when you start to look, they're speculating and they're talking about, you know, some will talk about the ethers, but yeah, they don't know, like, okay, if light is traveling and it has a speed and it's being held at there you go, it's being held at a constant speed, then what is it that is restricting it? And no matter how fast it travels, it cannot escape what they refer to as darkness. So they start to deal into dark matter, dark energy, and they have all types of names, all right, that deals with trying to explain this. So in our book on page 43, in fact it's before that, but there's actual, let me just go back before that and I'll just read that. There's a page on page 43 where it gives you a list of the ethers, and it breaks down numerology as well, dealing with the science of the numbers, particularly 3, 6, 9, and 24. So if you look on the diagram on page 43, for those who have the scroll, it tells you, like, from 9 ethers, the black seed, both genders. Then you got 8th ether, brown seed, both genders. You got 7th ether, brown seed as well, both genders. Then you have 6th ether, which is the red and white seed, and the female genders. And then you have the 5 ether, which is the white red seed, but it's the male gender. Then you go on to 4 ether, mixed seeds, both genders. 3 ethers, yellow seed, both genders. 1 ether is the amber seed, asexual. And then you got 1 ether, which is colorless or asexual, right? So, it goes into really going into explaining about the different ethers. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. But I also want to know, so like the Japanese,
yeah,
for instance, which one specifically would I refer to them as? Would I call them a 7 ether being or an 8th ether being?
This is what I'm saying, because there's so many mixtures now, it's hard to say. It will be between 7 and 8. And that's why I said, if you really think about it, the way the anthropologists are classifying the races is the best way to. So, like I said, if you're looking at the Homo naledi and the Homo habilis, that would be 9 ether, right? Then when you're looking at the Denisovan and the Homo florensis, that's looking at 8 and 7 ether. Then you're looking at the Neanderthal and the Cro-Magnon, that goes down to the 6 and 5 ether. But then you've got lower levels of ether based on, when you're being mixed out to the point where, you're not as authentic or as potent as the higher levels of ether. But yeah, you can read all of that in the scrolls. There's a scroll, the actual facts called the Melaninite race, the supreme beings, the Melaninite race. And you can read that, and it goes into a lot more information about, ether. We've got another master secret called physical ethers. We got what's the other one called? It's in my head. I'll tell you. It's called not designer genes. Not physical ethers. Natural ether energy. That's the scroll. Yeah, natural ether energy. Those scrolls will give you much, much more detail. I mean, when we answer these questions, we can only literally skim the surface and touch on it, but you have to attend classes and study, get the scrolls so that you're able to get more in-depth detail on ethers. All right. So remember
All
those
right.
scrolls: physical ether energy, physical ethers, and natural ether energy. I'm just trying to see if I've got one here. All right. Okay, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
question. Yeah, we'll take some others now. Thank you. Tawutak. Okay. Okay, you do this all the time. The people in the chat, man, they're just waiting for their questions to be
Hi
answered.
guys,
But
hello
let's go for
brothers. Rahubat.
Rahubat.
I'm Ufedo Obaka. I'm from Nigeria, and I have a few questions, and I hope to get clarifications. First off, I want to know if the Earth is flat or round.
Okay, we answer that.
I believe in the flat Earth theory, and
Oh yeah, I got interrupted.
most of the
So
teachings haven't really said anything about that. So
And let me play this other one.
okay.
yeah, I get you. But what about the firmament? Flat Earth. Sorry to use the theory, but the flat Earth says the sun revolves around the Earth, and there are so many explanations and whatnot to back this theory up. Which is why I believe in it, but I don't know.
Okay, I mean, yeah, like I said, I just said that not to come at you, but it's just when you break down words. This is the Melaninite children I mentioned for the last question, for those who want to get hold of that. It's ridiculous because when you know about mass and you know about electromagnetism, right? Dealing with how magnetism works. Even when you're lifting heavy objects, and we talk about like the pyramids were built, etc. It's ridiculous to say that the sun, which is the mass, is so much bigger when you're dealing with magnetism and how things are attracting and pulling of each other. The bigger the mass, yeah, you can't think that the little tiny planet is gonna pull the big mass sun. It doesn't make any sense. And what about the rest of the other planets then? So how does the sun rotate around the planet Earth, which is so much bigger, and not smash into the other planets that are very close in proximity to the planet Earth? Because remember, the planet Earth from the sun is the third planet. So the two before, if the sun is going around the planet, it's going to hit those two. It literally, people can claim and say anything, but you have to, even in the scientific community, you have to provide your papers. You know, you have like white papers, and you have to basically prove what you're saying, and then you have the scientific community that will scrutinize what you're saying to see if it makes sense. So this is why I mentioned the Big Bang theory before, because that was just a theory that a scientist had at the time. And over time, you get other people that actually, debunk that. We have so many scrolls that have been written by the master teacher that go into detail about the creation. That we got the science of creation. I'm actually trying to find it. Maybe I can even, let me see if I can find it. But I'm saying, it's one thing to just claim something and say, I believe this or I think this, but then you have to back it up with your evidence and let smart people that are in the same field that will say, yeah, this, we can recognize, I forgot it, we can recognize this person as an expert in that field, like how they did with Albert Einstein, who they considered to be a genius, and the master called him a genius. And you know, just like things that didn't match up or made sense. So this is the science of creation, and again, these books the master wrote many years ago. This is scroll 81, the science of creation. He was explaining the science of how things were created in terms of our universe, and way before, and pointing out the problems from the scientific community. Yeah, I'm just trying to, I can't read all of it because I want to give you the parts relating to, because it literally, it takes you so deep. And even the sacred wisdom of Tahuti, which, yeah, that's so phenomenal. Here you go. Like, that actually goes even into more detail. All right, sacred wisdom of Tahuti. Because remember, Tahuti is the person that has most of the knowledge on this planet, came by way of him. So if anybody's going to know, he knows, right? See, I can even go into it. So the master is explaining here the difference between the word that is used, because when you're reading, say, the Bible, because if people want to know, okay, how did the world start? How did the planet get created? How did they go into the Bible and the Quran, and the first thing you hear is creation, right? And, you know, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, Genesis 1:1, yeah? But he explains creation here, like understanding the English word creation is an important step in understanding everything in your universe, including the composure of your universe. The same thing happens in Aramic Hebrew and Ashuric Syriac Arabic, just as it happened in English with the word creation. There are some things in your universe that are beyond your comprehension, because your definitions, your interpretations, your explanations are all within your circles of time. Everything keeps leading back to your definition of some movie you were shown. Then when I try to tell you things, I have to relate everything to what you know according to your definitions. You are in a vacuum of laws, time, space, and information, right? Information. Just like when using the English language, take a word, any word, when trying to understand what you would call a foreign language, you try to associate the definition that is set by English standards or whatever language you speak. Your information is limited, your space is limited, and your time is limited. You are trapped within a vacuum where everything must be defined in the category of person, place, or thing. You can't even think of a number greater than the number 9. Therefore, in trying to explain everything in the universe to you, I will have to try to put them into terms or within these categories that you understand, and in the process take away from what I am trying to explain to you. The question is, how is this? As I explained to you, there are some things that are beyond your level of understanding. You cannot comprehend them right now. You see, when I try to tell you things outside of your circle or your comprehension, which is person, places, and things, solid, liquid, gas, God, man, devil, I have to try and break it down to where you'd best understand. Just like the word creation or beginning, right? And he goes on. What does the word beginning mean? Answer, the beginning means the first time of something. In the mistranslated King James Version from the Aramic Hebrew of Genesis 1:1, which is what I just said, right? It says, in the beginning, God created, as translated in English. However, this English translation in your Bible, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, using the word create is incorrect, because the word being used in that paragraph in the Hebrew is bara, in Aramaic Hebrew, which means reconstruction, not creation. The correct word for creation would be halakha in Arabic, in Aramaic Hebrew, sorry. And in Syriac Arabic, that would be khalku, khalku, meaning the creation. And it is not used in this case. Okay, so the question is, what's the difference between the word halakha and bara? Answer: the difference between the word halakha and bara is that the word bara in Aramaic Hebrew and bara, B-A-R-A, in Ashuric Syriac Arabic means to reconstruct, to recreate or remodel something that already existed, was procreated or make. This refers to the 12th attribute of al-bari, meaning the maker. This is the same word as bara in Genesis. The word used for make is also ja'ala. All right, I'm gonna kind of skip that, because what it is, when we're speaking a language, you're restricted by the definitions of the words. This is what we call casting a spell, which becomes spellings by the author that defines what each word means. But you just take that for granted, because unless you speak the language where that was grafted from, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to just jump a little bit to cycles, because he goes on to explaining the different cycles, because we use time. Time to us is based, as you said, on the motion of the planet around the sun. So that whole theory about the sun being the other way around, this is something that people used to think years ago, until scientists were able to debunk that. And then it was understood that it's the planet that rotates around the sun and not the other way around. So there's something that are things that, like even the flat earth theory, this was something that was originally thought of. People used to think that you will fall off the planet when you're sailing. Say you're sailing in a ship and you're gonna fall off at the end of the planet, until somebody actually got on a ship and sailed in one direction until they came back to the other direction, to the same place where they actually started from. So you don't fall off the planet. You know, magnetism, and when you're dealing with what we call gravity, there's so much science that you can use to, you know, prove the so-called flat earth theory wrong. But in here it goes on, as you recall, your history must renew itself every 24,000 years, which consists of 4 cycles, 2 sun cycles or gold cycles and 2 moon cycles or silver, grayish cycles. The entire universe moves around these 4 cycles. Your entire solar system is a part of a bigger system known as the Milky Way, which moves every 24,000 years. And it obviously shows you the picture of the cycles and the Milky Way. The moon cycle is a symbol of the night or the shadow hour, and the sun cycle is a symbol of the day. We're moving into the sun cycle because as a galaxy makes a complete wobbly circle around its sun, called an equinox, and the planet Earth gets closer and farther away from the sun at different times in its motion due to its elliptical orbit. This is why when I said that the planet is 91 or 93 million miles away from the sun, it's because the rotation is elliptical. So in relation to the sun. So when elliptical means like that, it's kind of like an egg shape. So when it's at the 2 points on that side, the planet is further away from the sun. And when it's at these 2 points, it's closest. It fluctuates between 91 million miles and 93 million miles. So that's what he's explaining here, that, but you also have what we call the galaxy, right? Which itself, it makes a complete wobble circle around its sun called an equinox. That's why 24,000 years is known as an equinox. Another 24,000 years is rounded up, even though it's 48,000, is really 48,896, which then gets rounded up to 50,000, and that's referred to as an epoch. Because it's important that when you're saying time, how is time being worked out if you're saying, you know, the sun is going around the planet? Like how do you equate time? Time is equated by this 24 because this planet was a project that was done and set to grow 24 points and to be put in a particular orbit, which then has a circumference of 24,000 miles, and it takes 24,000 cycles to rotate around. I mean, it really goes into the point. All right, I'm going to just do this little part and then I'm going to skip, but you have to read it. So I'm skipping a lot, so you definitely do want to read it. So things like Genesis, which people believe is the beginning, or it's not, it's actually the reconstruction. In order to create, in the beginning, right? In order to create something, this is when he was teaching about how a state of nothingness was created to place the 99 elements that we have in the periodic table into. And at that time, people didn't know about what we're calling the etheric world, going into the subdivisions of the atom, going into the, you know, the other side, the elemental side of ether 1, ether 2, and so on. But yeah, can't spend too much time on the flat earth theory. We know there's too much evidence that refutes that. But we'll keep going on. Right, you got another caller? Go ahead.
Wu-Sabat Sequen. My name's Shadell, and I'm from Nottingham. And my question is about the Akashic Records. Can you talk more about the Akashic Records and what the process is for accessing it? Mm-hmm. And also how much of what's seen or received there can be consciously remembered once we return back to our physical bodies? Thank you.
Toa Chanel Rahubat. Yeah, you know, pretty much every question that is asked, there is a book that goes into great detail about it. So that question is referring to the Akashic Records or the Akashic Records. Again, people that go into the esoteric teachings or they're reading, you know, the Bible and they go into what they call the Sufi order, they start to learn about these things and it's mentioned. And again, as I mentioned, you will learn that through when you go into the Eastern religions and deal with like Hinduism and so forth, and they will explain it in their way. But as nine ether beings, as the original beings and the original people with the information that is now being released into the world, of course the master teacher is going to address it. And some explain it like, oh, this is an unknown place, it's not a real place, or it's not a real thing, it's symbolic and so forth. But the Akasha Records, right, as you can see from this actual fact series number 72, it's talking about, in Arabic they talk about it being in a place, and the word Ilion is mentioned, and they say, you know, Sijin, it's in the place where you know, people don't know or can't get to, so it becomes all mystical. But to answer the question, what is the Akasha Records, right? This is dealing with the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, already explained to us about the mental realm, okay? And he explained it in the scroll called The Mind. And also I touched on the sacred wisdom of Tahuti. And he explained that although people say things like my mind, the mind is not in your head, right? It's a repository or an etheric repository of what we call information. It's really outformation because it's coming from outside in. And so this is where all the records are kept. Everything you do is recorded in vibrations, tones, and frequency. And that's why you're pulling information from the mental reservoir. And because it's a reservoir, there are different aspects or levels of it. a simple analogy is today we talk about storing things in the cloud, right? The concept of the cloud came, for those who are into IT, they will know that traditionally you're dealing with servers that stored a lot of information, and even the internet in its first inception was all about accessing information from the servers, and then all the servers started to connect to each other worldwide, and it became known as the World Wide Web. And so there are different access to the information that is stored on the cloud or on the web. So depending on your vibration in terms of your mental ability or intellect, you can access more of the mental reservoir. And if you look at everything you see around you, this has come by somebody's manifestation of an idea. Like you know, I want to make this. You access that information. So you know, there are no new things under the sun if you can access this. So people say they are inventing or coming up with things. It's a matter of tapping into the right vibration and frequency and pulling this information down. So, wow, is that the time already? No way. Is it nearly 9 o'clock? Okay, let me hurry up. So, Ashok equals unconditional love, right? Divine love becomes Kashua, required. Takshua, this is, I'm just reading you from verse, the end of verse 4 in the Akasha Records on page 2. So it goes on, condition from Kasha, all inclusive conditions, that which exist, those who exist, right? Going to verse 5. So it says, the rainbow colored Dayor Nawat at me stone, right? So when I say information is stored, this information is stored in the nearest thing that we can refer to as crystals or a disc, a circular thing of crystal, right? Each reflects its own barez, prominent color, a circular plate coated and nakuda, critiqued with affirmation and information. So remember I was reading the Science of Creation where he's trying to explain to you that he's trying to explain things to you that are outside your comprehension of people, places, and things. But that's known as outformation. Because when you look at English, the words are compound words. So you got a word in, I-N. You got another word form, F-O-R-M. And then shon, right? Or information. So if you can do that with in, you can also have a word out. So you got outformation that becomes information. 6. It is pure sawan quartz, and on each is recorded in sound and light, okay? Wajad-an, existence. This is why we say that creation came after existence, because things exist in order for you to create or to make or to recreate or to, you know, reform, okay? So it goes, existence and tamulat, actions. 7. Such as the red dayor, me disc, or dayor nawat, a me disc, stone, is all about, so when we're saying like tablets today, you know, like you have these types of tablets, and the tablets like, you know, the Apple makes, this is kind of ancient technology that's being revised. So the CD or compact disc, that again is kind of no longer in existence now because everything is in the cloud. But let me keep going. So you had the Midas stone is all about Janas Al, sexual pleasures, procreations. This is where they get the Kama Sutra from, right? The centers of reactions of the humanoids, Hases Al, sensual, sensuous sensations of Makabat, pains and pleasures relating to the Dhamma, brain and nervous system, inner and outer. 8. As recorded, transcribed and translated from this disc to become the tantric art of loving and lovemaking, also to become the Hindu Kama Sutra, which was what was shown and taught to Titi, Hawa, Eve in the garden or Gan Eden, enclosure of pleasures and delights called the Garden of Eden, which was in Arabia's holy and pure city, Becca, which became Mecca, right? So a lot of people talk about going to do Hajj in Mecca, and that's in Quran 396. But without reading the whole scroll, it's explaining to you that these me disc or me stones, where these are crystals where information is recorded, it's like a library of all the information or information and things that you can only dream of, but you can, as you said in your question, you can access this once you start to raise your consciousness and read these scrolls that take you outside people, places and things. Because when you're saying 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, everything is based on that three-dimensional world. 3 in itself has a counterpart, like everything else has a counterpart in the unseen world. That's why we say 3 times 3 gives you 9, right? That's the quickest way you're going to get to the highest number. And there's 9 different dimensions and not just one, because like he said in the Science of Creation, we can't even think outside of 9, because once we get to 9, the rest of the numbers are compound numbers, right? So 10 is a 1 and a 0, 11 is a 1 and a 1, 12, etc. So he starts to teach you and raise your mind to the state where you start to use a higher form of thinking, which is known as reasoning. Okay, so that's why we say right knowledge, because there's wrong knowledge too. A lot of people are getting caught up on the wrong knowledge. You have right knowledge, right wisdom, and the right understanding, which are steps of how you get to use your mental capacity at a higher level to the point where you get to what we call reasoning, okay, which is a higher form of thinking. Because some people have information, but they can't reason and put it together and break it down and make it make sense. So yeah, to answer your question, I can't go into the whole scroll, but the Akasha Records is like a library of light information that is stored on crystals about everything you would like to know, but you have to know how to tap into it. And there are various methods that we're taught how to use our mental, which happens to be the 4th level. And in the doctrines of Tahuti, that's one of those sciences, one of those levels that you have to master, the mental. All right. Next question.
Hi, my name's Elaine and I'm from England, and my question to you is about the 6 ether being and the 9 ether being. I myself am somebody who is mixed race, and my mother is fully English, born in England, and my father is fully Jamaican, born in Jamaica. As I'm a mixture of a 6 ether being and a 9 ether being, my question is about whether or not my soul would be able to ascend to the 9th ether or the 9th realm. I don't know like the exact wording of it, because I've been kind of confused about this for a while now. Like, I don't know if my race, like the fact that I'm a mixture of both races, will cause some type of like hindrance on how far my soul can ascend. And I've been on a spiritual journey now for about 6 years, and it's just like a question that always pops up in my mind, and I've never found a spiritual teacher that like directly addresses these type of questions. I don't know if they're like questions that come up, but as a mixed race person who's like on a spiritual journey, and I feel I've always like labelled myself as a spiritualist but never like religious, it's just a question I have in my mind if you know, like if my spiritual journey can go as far as other people's.
Absolutely. The thing is, once you have the 9 ether, then yes, because it's always the dominant that's going to be higher. So because you have the mixture of the 9 ether, the 9 is dominant. Okay, so the answer is yes. But in terms of the soul and the soul, that's a whole, there's a lot of information in terms of the levels of, you know, what people even know or consider to be a soul. So you can have a soul, but it's not activated. and you can also not have a soul. So you could, and this is not even dealing with just like races, because just because you're a nine ether being doesn't automatically mean that your soul is activated or is being used in a way that is going to take you to the higher realms. So some people just get on an ego trip, or they just think that because they're melanated that, you know, that's it. No, the soul is something that it doesn't matter, you know, what level in terms of the ethers you are. If you have one and it's activated, you still have to work to raise yourself and raise your vibration. But yes, you have the ability to, but you can go the other way too. You know, I did a class called Ascending and Descending Beings, because just because you have something doesn't mean that if you don't use it or you don't utilize it, that that's your ticket. So for example, you could have the fastest high-powered car with the most souped-up engine, right? Using that as an analogy for the soul, and all it does is get parked on your driveway. It never moves. It doesn't do anything. You know, this is what's happening where you're not using it. So many people on the planet are complacent, or they've just got to a stage where they don't recognize or remember who they are. And this knowledge, this Wu-Sabat, wu-nuwapu, the master teacher being here, when you hear truth and hear information, it resonates because it's a vibration, it's a frequency, and it can activate you and motivate you to move. When you hear the word motivation, you're talking about moving. And then you hear the word frequency, is how frequently do you do something to help you? Because the more you repeat something, repetition is one of the best ways of reinforcing knowledge. So once you're activated, you got to move, you got to do something. Like this knowledge, you got to share it, you got to practice it, you got to put it into action. So that's why we have many scrolls like the Patarak, soul, soul, spirit, spirit. Again, because of time, that's why if people are really serious, you got to come to classes, you got to study, you got to research, and you've got to learn more about these subjects that we're talking about, especially if you're saying you've been on your spiritual journey and you don't get these answers anywhere else. So, but what we give you is just, yeah, like I said, we just literally touch on what the master teacher goes into. Look, first part that I've picked up is soul, soul, spirit, spirit. So when you want to know about your soul, you have to read this type Patarak. If I have time, I might touch on it. We've got sex force, right? Sex force, spirit force. Because when you start to deal with force, you're dealing with that energy, emotions, or we say emotions. Then you got 30 spirits. Because I've explained that everything that is alive has a spirit, right? So that will be your dogs, your trees, your rocks, animals, all of this stuff, physical stuff, they do have a vibration known as a spirit. So they are alive. However, the soul is a very unique thing. It's a gift, and you have to learn about it and know how it works and how to use it. And in many movies now, they show you how, in like the movie like The Matrix, for example, right? They show you that it's like a battery that can be utilized, and extraterrestrials and certain beings that have dissected you, broken you down, and know that some beings and some people do have this soul. And that's what helps you to reach the higher realms. But it has to be activated, and you have to know how to use it. Here's another one, soulmates, right? Because when you start to deal with partners and who you're with in terms of, you know, a relationship or whatever, that you got to have the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The best person to be with would be your soulmate. And this again gets desecrated and distorted in many ways. But I want to read a little bit from Soul, Soul, Spirit, Spirit, because your question is specifically regarding the soul. And most people are not aware that they have two souls. It's like, this is the concept of two engines. You know, a plane has two engines. You're firing on both cylinders. Relates to the partner or the mate you have as a soulmate as well, where you're both firing on both cylinders, working together in union, in unison, and in harmony, which ties into tones and vibrations. But here we go. This is called Soul, Soul, Spirit, Spirit, Patarat. Likum, my beloved Nuwapu, Karadu, Nuwapian children who ask about the soul and the spirit. 2, do you know and remember all I said to you of them, and you as females and males? 3, Nuwapians, I told you of Ba'a, soul, and Rawa, soul. So those are the two types of souls that you have. 4, and I spoke to you about the Ka'a, the spirit, and the Nafas, also another spirit, two spirits. And about the Akh, the etheric being, and the Hu, the oversoul. 6, and you ask again about these parts of your existence. 1, Pa Hu, the over being. 2, Pa Akh, the etheric being. 3, the Pa Ba'a, the creative expressional being. 4, the Pa Rawa, the breath of the living being. 5, Pa Ka'a, the exoplasmic being. 6, Pa Nafas, the living being. 7, Pa Khatat, the physical being. 8, Pa Khabat'u, demigods that are children of Pa Natharu, called angelic beings, both agreeable and disagreeable. 7, some were cast out from above and became known as Nephilim, fallen ones. They call them Elohim in the Bible and Alihat in the Quran. 8, the agreeable ones are called Malachim, and the disagreeable one called Molech. 9, they come in 3 groups. 1, Milcon. 2, Moloch. 3, Melech. The 2 most known are the disagreeable ones called cherubim and the agreeable ones called the seraphim. Right? This is where the whole angel, you know, the concept of good angel, bad angels comes from, right? 10, the Sumerians called them Anunnaki. The Chaldeans called them Anakim and Raphaim. 11, they are tribes also. The Islamic faith of the Quran calls them jinn, right? When you hear the jinn, who can be in human form, both as males and females. 12, some came down to Pataha, the planet Earth, called sons of God, and had sex with human women. 13, the results were wicked offspring or demigods, being a half divine and half human. Most turn out to be demon persons of greed, lust, and preternatural cruelty. 14, these are born by mixing genetics of deities with genetics of humans, right? So this score, I'm not going to, because of time, I'm not going to go into it, but it goes on and on into explaining exactly what a soul is, the different parts of you that actually, make you up. Let me read a little bit more about the soul on page 5 of this same part of that. It explains, it says, and then we look at Pa Ba'a, called the soul, creative expression of emotional being. And there is a counter soul called in our language Pa Rawa, called also the soul. Yet it is breath or wind and affects the body actions, right? Because remember, the whole point of you being alive is because you're breathing, right? This is why these words, like I meant, nafas, becomes nafish in the Bible and the Quran, right? So the breath or wind and affects the body actions. It ignites with the first human breath of air. So when you're born as a child, when, you know, the first breath you take of the gases, that's the ether that I was speaking about, that surrounds everything and holds everything together. So The mixture of the gases ether, one, breathes the atmosphere of breath. Okay, then we go on and we look at Paka'a, called the spirit. Yeah, I can see that I haven't really answered many questions from the chat, and there's so much to deal with in terms of the soul. And if you really do want to know, yeah, come to the class we're going to have on the 14th of February, which goes into a lot more detail in terms of what we're going to be able to answer for you. Okay, we're going to take another call.
Okay, I had a question. So I was out around 2 to 4 a.m. one night. I did have somebody come outside, and basically what happened, I was talking to her, and I'm looking past her shoulder, and I see this figure literally like pop behind from where she was staying at. And it was like, it first popped his head out, and then it walked all the way out. And it's like we was locking eyes the whole time, and then it just walked straight. It was like a shadowy stick figure like person type of being. I'm looking like this crazy, and it ended up just walking to the tree. My question is, what exactly is that? Is that like seeing certain through certain dimensions or something like that? Like I'm trying to figure that out. And then I do have another question.
Yeah.
My second question is,
okay. Yeah, let me just answer that one quick. Yes, this is what we're explaining, that when people are starting to develop spiritually and their eyes open, what people call the third eye, we say the first eye or the pineal gland, tying into you starting to use your higher powers, okay, or senses, you know, intuition, clairvoyance. This is what you're using. Clairvoyance means clear vision, where you're now able to see interdimensionally, and you're able to tune yourself in, because like I said, you have many beings that exist around us, and they're just in a different vibration or a different frequency, and therefore they've been hidden from the naked eye. But when you start to develop yourself spiritually and your eyes are open, you're going to start to see more things interdimensionally. You're going to be able to see auras. You're going to be able to see things that others may not be able to see. So yes, that's one way of being able to see these beings, because they're all around us. Many people have experiences where they will feel as well, like you might be walking and feel like there's a presence behind you or around you or somewhere. Some people have even had interactions with these beings that they don't have a flesh, right? So when you're talking about some of these beings that were cast down, some of them didn't inherit a physical form. You also have disembodied spirits that are roaming the planet. This is what, if you start to read the book of Revelations, it talks about the foul birds and the spirit. Read the whole of Revelations, especially chapter 18. And then when you go all the way to 21, it starts to talk about, you know, the beings are going to come, because this planet, which relates to your question, right? This is the devil's playground, right? This is why everyone and most people on the planet have already been subjected to giving allegiance or relying on the jinns, which we call the religions or the legions, right? Because that's one of the names of these beings. It says, I am legion, right? Just Google it. You know, because these days you've got technology. You can use online Bibles, Google legion, and it tells you how they multiply and how they have children. Then you have disembodied souls that are not able to transcend and go to the higher levels. And the confession is that when people go to the graveyard, to the tombstone, to go and visit their relatives and talk to them, and that's a subtle way of telling you that they're trapped here. Because in the religion, they tell you that you're either going to go to heaven or you're going to go to hell. So if your past or loved ones have gone to either of those places, which are subject to be proven, but that's a whole different story, then why are you going to the tombstone, to the graveyard, to talk to them and look for them? They're not there if you follow that line of thinking. So, and there are beings, right, called succubus, incubus and succubus. These beings, that some of them, you know, you hear women and people talking, they show you videos as well, footage of CCTV cameras that catch beings coming into a room that are not seen, pulling the what do you call it, the sheets off of a person, and they try to, you know, seduce them and have sexual interaction with them. So these things, years ago, when the master was teaching us these things about the spirit world and the beings that exist in the unseen world, people would think you're crazy. Of course, there are also people who are, to use that word lightly, that are using what we refer to as projection and reflection. There's again another master secrets from the master called projection and what did I just say? Reflection. So you're reflecting from your mind's eye things that you have stored in your subconscious based on movies and things you have seen. So nothing is as clean cut like this is not true or that is true. So there are things that are true and there are things that are not true. And sometimes people mix the two to the point where they confuse people. But yes, that is what you were doing. Next question, please.
My second question is, I did have a dream, an interaction, where basically it was very short. Basically, I was speeding down in a UFO-like type of thing. And I remember I wasn't even nervous, but I looked over and I seen another person, and they was just crouched down, like kind of nervous. But I ended up looking up, and there was a big alien-like type of blue alien joint thing. He was just looking at me, and I'm just looking at him, just like, what's going on? And I just remember he was just like talking to me in my mind, saying like, oh yeah, you're not ready yet. And then I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not ready. And then all of a sudden I just boom, popped in. And I woke up. But my question is for that is like, what ET is that? Like what type of out of body experience is that, if you have any knowledge on that type of thing? Because that was crazy to me, and I still don't even have answers to that.
Okay, again, this is why it's so important to be studying and being on the Wu-Sabat, because we've explained when you're talking about extraterrestrials, there's so many species, like, and they're hybrids and they're new ones every day because of the mixture between, just like on the planet now, there's so many different mixtures of races. Like you can have a Korean mixed with a Chinese person that's mixed with a Nagaru. So it's the same with extraterrestrial species. Many of them get abducted by other extraterrestrial beings. They experiment on them and they take their DNA and they create other beings. Some of them are trying to figure out and find out how we are who we are. So don't be surprised having experiences or seeing or meeting or traveling, right, into different realms, astral projecting and going in your, you travel every night when you're so-called sleeping, when your physical body is at rest, and then your astral body is able to go and travel and do things and come back. Most people have been dumbed down or trained not to remember what you call dreams. Some dreams, there are different types of dreams as well. So you've got dreams that are actual you traveling and going and visiting places and meeting beings and coming back. Some dreams are just based on you know, things you've stored in your subconscious from watching movies or books or traumas that you've experienced in your life, and you replay these things through projection and reflection. So you have to be disciplined and come under Wu-Sabat, because you have a master teacher that is a spiritual guide. He has mastered what you're calling the unseen world, or the people call it spiritual world and so forth. And he has mastered the physical world, which is why he's a 720-degree being. Okay, so everything people ask or talk about, he's either done a recording audio on it, he's done lectures on it, he's put out books on it. He demystifies everything to the point where when we're student teachers are teaching this, there's levels to it. So you have to study, you have to come to classes, and you have to be disciplined. And there's nowhere else on the planet. In fact, we're running out of time. We literally have 8 minutes. I'm doing a class this Saturday called Wu-Sabat, the real final call. Because this is serious stuff, you know, as we approach, we're in the sun cycle, and as we approach 2030, and you really got to work on yourself. You've got to turn yourself inside out. You have to stop the games and know about what you're eating, right? Because like I said, this is the devil's playground. He does everything to stifle your growth, right? So you have to know, like, you hear the phrase, many are called, few are chosen, or the 144,000, and many terms that are used, the woke ones, or the elite, or the, for everything you hear, there is a counteraction to that. That's why I said there are two worlds, right? You have the devil's world, and they will sell you and give you everything that sounds good. So, for example, a lot of people going, oh, I'm going to go to Israel because I feel like this is where Christ is going to return. But we know, someone's asked a question which actually relates to this, Ubura. I haven't actually got to answer your question, but this is where Lucifer, as you're saying, right? People are, you're asking the question which ties to this question. Can you explain why Lucifer is referred to as the morning star, right? Because that's dealing with, when you say star, that's really talking about fire, right? Because you have Lucifer, who's the light bearer. Light comes in many forms. You have the blinding light, which is really the blinding light of religion. We have an actual fact called the God of fire, light and fire, right? That explains and shows you how you're easily influenced, or the distortion of truth. Some people are going somewhere thinking they're going to do the right thing or worship the right savior or messiah or whatever, but you're dealing with the antichrist, right? And then you have the actual truth, where, like I was just saying, like, why are they trying to rebuild the temples in these places? And look at what's taken place with the wars and the unaliving of so many people. But then when you read the scriptures, it tells you that the kingdom of God is coming from heaven and it's going to come down. Like, go and read Revelation 21 and 22 and you hear what I'm saying. So I'm basically saying to you that you have to discipline yourself. You have to get strict, learn, because all these foods and all that, they tell you are what you eat. And people think they're not eating certain things, but they're ingesting them anyway. You know, like, again, people are now talking about the pig. We explained them a long time ago. The master teacher taught us, not just because of Islam saying it's haram, but like, what is a pig? How is it composed? It's from a rat, a cat, and a dog. And it's filth. It's really so bad, and it has worms that once they go into your system, it's very hard to get out, right? They use every part of it. So when you're brushing your teeth or using mascara or using certain products that you're not eating, but it's going on your face and your porous, it's going to go into your pores, go inside of you. So I'm just saying that to say that Lucifer, he basically is all about the worship. And remember, Lucifer has a father and he has many names or attributes. So when we're saying, you know, we give you the actual name, his name's Shakar, and his son, or the person that people are calling the devil, it's Nana. And then you have people on the planet that are working for him and they are his minions or representatives. Wu-Sabat demystifies everything and gives you, puts a, you know, it magnifies everything, gives you the names, the places, the beings you're talking about, the extraterrestrials, etc., etc. I see you with the flag, so we've got two more questions. All right.
Another question is, what's the start, right? Because so there is, okay, so there is knowledge given, but what's another question is, what's the start, right? Because so there is knowledge given, but what's the start to actually, you know, learning these things? How can I get these Malachi York books? What's the beginning? What's the start of, you know, learning and transforming into exactly what we need to be, and how to get to the roots of exactly what we need to know and what we need to learn, as far as what stars we coming from and different places that we need to be, that's, you know, lined up with where we're from. And
yeah, has he got another one?
No, that's someone else.
Yeah, so that's such a great question, because this is so important for those that are tuning in. It's not just about acquiring knowledge and some people think as long as I'm in my bedroom and I'm studying and I'm, I get the books and that's it. No, like there is deeper things to consider. It's about the unification and coming together. So when you say what's the start, most of the information you hear us teach in the public domain, it's only at a particular level. There's deeper levels to that. And you have to be in the right places to receive the secrets or the, like, in the scriptures, even the masters, they will tell you they cannot throw pearls to swine, or they cannot give this information to just anybody. You have to be serious and you have to turn yourself inside out. You have to be ready for that information that's going to take you to becoming the supreme being. And it's not a trick. It's just like you wouldn't give a baby or a child a loaded gun. Like, great power comes with great responsibility. So you have to do the work. This is not a dip you in water and you're born again and now you're going to heaven because someone has died for your sins and that's it. No, that's the distortion. You have to do the work. So the work is to, first of all, I don't know where the brother is calling from, but you have to go to your local bookstore, local community, and start to put it into action by doing the things that we're asked of to do. Because a lot of people think, I know I've met and spoken to thousands, if not, thousands of people. People come and go. Some it's just about just talking. They talk, but they don't put it into action. They don't actually do the work. And one of the things we get asked all the time is, where do I start? You're reading and studying and applying the knowledge is one thing, but then there's actually the physical doing as well. Like I gave the example before, if you don't drive that car, those pistons are not going to fire so that that car is going to be utilized for what it was made for. It looks good, it's sitting in the driveway, but it's not doing anything. So there are many people that have gifts, powers, but they're lone rangers. It doesn't work like that, because the communities, first of all, you have to gather with like-minded people and start to work together, because there's power in numbers. Everyone said that, but that's just to prepare you for all those communities coming together in one place, because the person that's going to guide you and tell you where to go and when to do things and when not to do things is the master teacher. And without him out, we are doing our best, but we have to bring him home. And then, without going into too much details, like there's a movie called The Stand, okay, that the master told us to watch many, many years ago. I think Whoopi Goldberg is in that movie. Go and watch it, because the science is like certain people are going to develop to a certain level. Certain people are already chosen and have gifts, like they will hear sounds or they will be contacted by extraterrestrial supreme beings, our elders, and they will know what time it is and where to go. This could be communicated through your dreams, through your experiences, and so forth and so forth. So this is a very real thing, and you need to, you have to put it into action. Don't just look at it. I mean, some people can just read it. It will still have an impact, and it will be a good thing for your life, because you're going to learn things about yourself, like how to breathe, how to walk, how to eat, how to sleep. These are just basic things. Many people don't know how to sleep. They don't know where you should sleep on your side, on your right-hand side. Do you know what I mean? Because your organs are gonna. I can't go into all of that, but I'm just saying, even the shoes, the clothes you wear, the frequencies and the things you're exposed to, the food you eat, your mindset. There's so much that you have to learn, and you're not gonna get all that by just being a lone ranger. All right. So the first step: go to your local bookstore community and kind of lock in. That was then the questions, right?
And then one more question.
Okay. We've gone over time already.
Rahubat, I'm in your live. I just have a brief question, if that's okay.
Rahubat.
For the entities who are considered the fallen, would those be under like the Draco Empire and the other entities who are, let's just say, disagreeable or not too nice? are they a part of the fallen? Or I'm aware of other beings like you have Lucifer, you have Yakub, and people like them. Are they also part like of the fallen? Or yeah.
Tua, yes. So this is what, when we say fallen, right? Yes, we're talking, when you think about falling, you think about coming from high down. So like if you're falling down, you're falling, right? But the falling is not just necessarily in that sense. So there's the sense of beings that came from different planets from above. The thing is, we say above, but when you really know that there is no up and down as such, meaning that wherever you're standing on the planet, let's say they say Australia is on the other side of the world, but when you're standing, your head will be facing that way because the gravity is holding you that way, right? And when you're on this side, let's say that's the globe, and you're standing here, your head is facing that way. But if you're on this side, it's the same. So there's no really up or down like the way you might look at it, because what we do is think about falling as coming from down up, but we're talking about beings that exist in what we call time, matter, and space, right? These are a union, they work together. So you can fall in terms of vibration and frequency, and you can raise in terms of vibration and frequency, as well as the hierarchy. So if you have a devil, right, as is put in the book of Revelations, read chapter 12, and it goes all the way to 12:7 and 12:9. It talks about the fallen ones, right? So you have Michael and his angels that were fighting these beings that were disagreeable, and they call them or refer to them as, or the head one as the dragon. And it tells you that a third of them fell down, hence why the number 33. And when you start to look at, like, remember, there's always the two sides. So that's why you get the duality, and then you got the balance in the middle, but where you'll have Lucifer on one side, or the devil, or the disagreeables, but then the cherubim, seraphim, Yahweh, and on the other side, you're going to have, like we say, like you will have the malevolent being the disagreeable, and then you have the benevolent being all good and bad, positive, negative. No matter how you look at it, you have to choose which side you lean towards predominantly. So yes, those Draco or draconian beings from that constellation, that's where you're hearing dragon or dragonian, dragon. Yeah, it ties into those beings, yes. And they have offspring on the planet. They influence beings on the planet for you to decide or choose sides. And then you have Wu-Sabat, the master teacher, teaching you the truth, so that you know the difference from, as it says in when the Adam and Eve story, that they ate the fruit. The fruit's knowledge, right? Because the tree was symbolic of knowledge. To know, it says, not to believe, but to know good from evil. Many people don't know the difference. They don't know good from evil anymore. But we're waking back up, and we're developing on a conscious level. So when you are like that, and you're now about your spiritual journey, then you have to go to where you can get all your answers, be it physical or spiritual or unseen and seen. Gives you the circumference or the 360 degrees, because you're actually 180 degrees agreeable and 180 degrees disagreeable. And what each side is doing is trying to influence you to kind of be on one side or the other, okay? And once one side conquers the other, then you become fully that side. So if you are agreeable and you allow disagreeable to conquer you, you become 360 disagreeable. And if you're the other way around, where you're disagreeable, but you can, I don't know which way I said it just now, but the other way around, you can become 100% agreeable, 360% agreeable, you see? So, and the work has to be done by you, but you have to learn what's right and what's wrong, or to know good from evil, so that you're no longer tricked. Yeah, so this is why we're here. Wu-Sabat is here. We've run out of time. I've gone over by 8 minutes, and everyone in the chat who didn't get your question answered, you know what to do now. Send voice messages or call up live. They get priority. And then, of course, you can always tune into our classes to get your questions answered, or join our Telegram group. Okay, the Telegram group allows you to ask questions. You can ask a question anytime, but bear in mind we're in different time zones, and sometimes we do sleep, we do normal things. So if your question is not answered, it's not instantaneous. Okay, so but you can still ask your question, and we have many student teachers around the globe that will attend to and answer your question. And be about it, be truthful, be sincere, be, you know, as a baby willing to learn. All right, we've run out of time, but I'm gonna just talk about our event, because again, that's your opportunity to meet us. And even if you're anywhere in the world, you can join in live, because there will be a live stream and a class, which will be normally at the same time as we have the classes every week. But this is a special class that will be after the event, and people can tune in and be a part of the festivities all throughout, the beginning to the end of the event with the class. And you can, if you're local in the UK and you want to come down, you can come down. And we have different types of tickets. It's obviously counteracting what they call Valentine's Day. So it is about a shook divine love. It is about, you know, meeting people and squashing any type of negativity that is stopping us from coming together and uniting. Because the only request the Master has ever asked of us is to come together in love and unity. And it's not enough to just say the words, you have to, you know, put it into work. Don't get bamboozled, don't get sidetracked and go into all of these different groups and people that are disgruntled and, you know, they don't want to let go of things and come together, right? So you have the opportunity to start afresh, all right? It's going to be a 3-course meal, live entertainment. We have a DJ. We're going to have lots of products, books, cultural products, healthy products. We're going to be able to answer all your questions, have conversations with you in real time, you know. So make sure you go and get your tickets in Eventbrite. And by supporting us, you know, we can actually have more events and make sure that, you know, we reach more people. Even if you can't make it, you can donate a small donation to help us, because we're going all out for you. You know, we want you to have an experience, a good experience. You see, bring your family, bring your loved one, instead of going out there. And I mean, if you still want to take your loved one, your, you know, like your actual husband, wife, male, female friend out, we're finishing around 9:30 anyway. So you still have time to go out if you want to go out and do things. But we do like to counteract these pagan holidays by having a positive event that is all about. Well, we'll go and watch our Valentine's video and you will know why it's not really something you should be celebrating. But yeah, so help us by donating, by buying a ticket, by coming down, by sharing and inviting other people. I really have to say nadum, which means sorry in our language, to those people who didn't get their questions answered. But come and meet and greet us. I'm teaching this Saturday, so you can also ask your question live. Stay in tune to OSM, of course. Subscribe so you can get alerted to anything that's happening. You get the content first in the members section. You know, obviously, subscribe, share the videos, comment. And yeah, let's get Wu-Sabat out to the world, because there are so many people that are not aware that they're under the spell. Yeah, there are many books and people talking about what you need to get in terms of the scrolls in the chat. So until Saturday, yeah, I want to say Tawukum to everyone, which means thank you all. And without you, we wouldn't be doing this. And those of us that are really supportive, you know, the people that regularly send us donations or, they participate and take part in our events. We're definitely making a difference, and without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. Freedom to the Master Teacher this year, without fail, Partner Babianun has to come out. So anything you can do to help us achieve that,